Y'all, Trump was looking real rough at his press conference today. And I don't just mean his kind of rambling word salad and how tired he sounded and how his speech was a little bit slurred. I mean his physical presentation. And in particular, the fact that his team forgot to put on that heavy pancake makeup over the very prominent bruise over the back of his right hand.
The other day, and come to think of it, there's your trophy.
See?
For the World Cup.
He remembered to cover it up.
And come to think of it, there's your trophy for the World Cup. In fact, it's solid gold. That's actually the other day. And come to think of it, there's your trophy.
Look at it. And then somebody reminds him to cover it up. For weeks, we have seen Trump repeatedly have this bruising on the back of his right hand that his team has covered up with some very obvious bad pancake makeup. It looks like a smear of putty across the back of his hand. And clearly today, in whatever rush they were in, they forgot to cover it up. And it's more than that. The Daily Beast is also reporting that prominent bruising is clearly visible on the back of his left hand as well. This photo was taken while he was golfing this past weekend. Now, we already know that Trump is not in good health. There have been a number of photos of him with very large cankles. Again, that bruising on the back of his hand. And that his team all along during his first term and now his physician has always said he's like in the best. He's in amazing health. He's healthier than a guy 20 years younger than him. He's just flawless, impeccable health. And that's very typical of a would-be autocrat. It's also very typical of a narcissist to not want to admit when they are not doing well, when they are in ill health. I talked about this the other day. The aging narcissist is one who is in a state of constant fear and panic and constant rage and resentment as well, because he knows his days are numbered. And he is no longer able to keep up the facade of being the most bigly and the most impressive and so perfect and powerful. So when Trump's team came out and said that he had, poor venous return from his legs or something, and that was the reason that he had cankles. No, it wasn't congestive heart failure. It was just, venous insufficiency. That was a lot for his medical staff to have to admit that an almost 80-year-old man is not in good health when it's just like clear as day to all the rest of us. That was a lot. He did not want that to be released. So he must not be doing well for any admission to be made whatsoever. But it's so much more than that. I covered this the other day, but he has had this, more slumped posture. He seems tired, kind of sagging into himself. His speech is a little bit more slurred. It's a little softer. He's struggling a little bit more. I know he's always been very prone to word salad and jumping from topic to topic, but he seems a little bit more rambly lately and just seems almost fatigued as he's speaking. Now, when I covered this in a video the other day, Trump supporters and my comments were like going nuts. He's so tired because he's been sacrificing so hard. He's been spending so much of his time up late trying to save the country. He's so tired because he's just working himself to the bone. So clearly this is like a MAGA talking point. This is being regurgitated by the Trump machine somewhere from Fox News, and all of the MAGA hats are picking it up because my comments were just full of it. You're so mean. He's just tired because he's making America great, because he's cleaning up our cities and that's hard work. Of course he's exhausted. They don't want to see that their almost 80-year-old leader is not in good health. And we could speculate about why he has this bruising on the back of his hand. Is he getting an IV there? Is he on like Eliquis or something? What is going on to produce this bruising now on both hands? And I'm not even sure it's necessarily that important. It's just very obvious that the leader of the formerly free world is a very old man who is declining. And there's two things I want to say about this, and I'll get into the rest of what he said in this press conference where he was signing executive orders in the next video or two. But I want to focus on two things about his physical appearance and the way that it's very apparent with every press conference, every public event, it becomes more apparent that Trump is declining. I know I've said it before and it bears repeating. If you have been the caregiver for an elderly parent, I was the caregiver for both of my parents, particularly my father, who had a stroke and then dementia. You kind of know it when you see it. It doesn't really matter what Trump's diagnoses are. It's very apparent that he has the dwindles. There is a point at which, an elderly person who is going through certain processes of their body wearing out, they are coming to the end of their life, where that person continues to decline. There is no recovery back to the baseline, right? He may have an incident, he may be getting treatment for something, but he's never going to come back up to his baseline. To me, it feels like that's what we're watching with Trump. If you go back and watch footage of him from even November, but especially like a year ago, it becomes so apparent that you're looking at the dwindles in real time. And so I don't know that it's necessarily helpful to speculate about whether or not he does have dementia. To me, it looks like frequently at these press conferences, he's giving some, measure of sundowning. He's giving some signs that to me are just so strikingly similar to my father who had dementia. I hate having to repeatedly compare my dad and Donald Trump to each other. I don't mean personality wise, I just mean in terms of physical and cognitive presentation. And again, I'm not diagnosing Trump, but I almost think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he has congestive heart failure. The dwindles are apparent. And I know that that's something that his team is aware of. And I know that's something on some level he is aware of. So I don't know, you want to take that as an encouragement? Donald Trump is nearly 80 years old and he obviously has the dwindles. Sure, I'm encouraged by that. Would-be dictators are mortal just like the rest of us. Even though they never plan for a successor to come after them, they want to believe they will live forever. They live in constant fear of death. They are, in fact, mortal like the rest of us. So that brings me to my second point. If you are anticipating the day in which we will no longer have Donald Trump as the president of the United States, in fact, this morning, Daniela, Knitting Cult Lady, said a lot of Americans are looking forward to the big, beautiful burial. Right, a jab at both Trump's mortality and the one big, beautiful bill, which now they're calling ABBA or something. One big, beautiful act. If you're looking forward to that, if you're feeling pretty hyped up about that, if you are watching what is happening right now with Trump and his physical presentation, and that kind of lifts your spirits, don't let anybody make you feel shame for that. It reminds me of the fact that, James Dobson died at the end of last week. Another equally terrible man who contributed to the abuse of tens of millions of American children and probably children around the world as well. How many relationships between parents and children were irreparably damaged by James Dobson? How many children were traumatized and abused in their childhood because of James Dobson? And so when he died, I know our family celebrated. A number of my mutuals made content about how thrilled they were. And yet there were pearl clutching evangelical creators on social media that were like, how dare you rejoice when someone dies? And it's very much the same thing for Trump. So I just want to remind you, it is okay to feel relief when someone who is causing you tremendous harm is no longer able to do so. You are allowed to feel relief and express relief when your abuser can no longer abuse you. So if you want to call this a Hope Corps video, if you want to call every press conference of Donald Trump's from now until, if you want to call all of that Hope Corps, if that really keeps you going, go for it. Go for it. Don't let anybody shame you. I don't know where we got off as a society thinking that you can't be excited when a person who is actively causing harm is no longer around to hurt people. Donald Trump is hurting hundreds of millions of billions of people. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying. Hundreds of thousands of people are being terrorized and undergoing an ethnic cleansing. Children in Gaza are starving, being starved. Children in Sudan are being starved because of Donald Trump. So, if there is relief for any of those folks and their suffering anywhere on the horizon, fuck yeah, let's be excited about it. Let's anticipate that day.